the next topic here, which is Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder's Stone Quarry Productions has signed a first look deal with Netflix. And this is something we brought up a while ago, a few months ago, actually, maybe in February, when it was announced that Ryan Coogler was signed up for a 5 year deal with Netflix. And I was, I put up a poll on the Twitter account asking that a lot of people are signing, a lot of these streaming services are signing projects with directors and then signing directors directly to make projects for them. So we asked if a similar deal will be signed with Zack Snyder, you know, and the options we gave were HBO Max, Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and other or something like that. And then obviously at that time HBO Max won because it was pre Zack Snyder's Justice League. No one read the Hans Sarnoff article. Everyone was in bliss. So everyone chose HBO Max. The second thing that won was Netflix. And now we get the news that Netflix actually signed a deal with Zack Snyder's Stone Quarry Productions, which, firstly, I think the best thing about this is it's a first look deal. So for people who don't know about the first look deal, it's basically a deal in which the company, in this case Netflix, has the right to have a first look at any Zack Snyder project, right? So suppose Zack Snyder came out with a new idea of a project. Let's forget Rebel Moon for a second. Imagine Zack Snyder right now has a new idea for a movie about a cat or something, right? So that project cannot go to anyone else except Netflix uh, before going to anyone else, right? So first, Zack Snyder comes up with the project idea about a cat movie or something. He has to go to Netflix, and Netflix has the right to see that script or idea or pitch, whatever, and then they have the right to either accept it or decline it. And if they decline it, then Zack Snyder can go to any other studio and then shop it around. So that's what a first look deal means. So I love this because Zack Snyder comes up with an idea about a cat movie. He goes to Netflix. Netflix is signing that up, right? He's not going to say no
Yeah.
to Zack Snyder. So that's obviously a big advantage for Netflix. Also, you might be thinking, what's in it for Zack? Well, first look deals are great for directors and creators because they get a lot of money for that and a lot of resources, and doing scouting locations, and prepping for the movies and stuff. Netflix will directly pay for it in advance, and he gets more money up front for this deal. So that's also great. So yeah, it's a deal that benefits both. And Sean, can you open the article and read the quote from Deborah about Warner Brothers? Because I think that quote from Deborah was amazing, as that was basically kind of a hit at Warner Brothers and in favor of Netflix. She didn't have to say it, but it felt like she was saying it as a dig to Warner Brothers. There's in that article. There's also a Damon Caro project that he's going to be directing. For those of you who don't know, Damon Caro is the stunt coordinator of Zack Snyder movies. He basically coordinated the whole warehouse fight scene for Batman in BVS. So just imagine what his original project would be like. So that one good thing is also that it's not just Zack Snyder that they signed on Netflix. They actually signed on Stone Quarry Productions because Zack Snyder is not going to make every single project that's coming out of Stone Quarry. He's also going to hire other people to come and make. It's just a production house, so he's going to hire other people to go
Yeah.
make movies for his production house as well. And that production house, any movies made under that, also has a first look deal with Netflix. So Damon Carr's project was mentioned in the article, so that also comes under that. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon movie also comes under the first look thing. So that's amazing to hear.
Yeah. If Shane Hatton had an idea for a film and he wrote it himself, or even a short movie or anything like that, like a not short movie, but like a small indie movie, that would be under Stone Quarry, and Zack Snyder would show Netflix or
Yeah.
whatever. There's so many possibilities. It's not just Zack Snyder. We could get like just for example, like he could hire David Ayer to make a movie for him. Like, that's what the possibilities are. And David Ayer has a good relationship with Netflix as well.
Yep.
So like that Zach could get his crew back together in a way. But yeah, it's awesome. Like it's so cool because you will get the freedom there, and like Netflix aren't going to say no to him. That's the thing. It's not like they're going to say no, and then he goes over to Amazon or he goes over to Disney. That's not going to happen. He's a Netflix guy right now. You know, everything that he does will be done through
Hmm.
Netflix for the next. Well, it's a personal deal, so for the rest of his career, nearly.
But I think this was specifically for 2 years, the next 2 years. Um, we'll talk about what the
But
implication for that with the Snyderverse is later on, but this was also
yeah,
specifically for 2 years. And then after that, obviously
but,
they might extend that.
yeah. Well, Adam Sandler when he first signed on, he signed like a six-picture deal with Netflix.
Oh,
And then just before the sixth one came, he did that back in 2014, I think. And just as the sixth one was coming out, he signed on for another like eight. You know, so it's like I see the same happening with Zach.
yeah.
You know, when he does the first two, or they sign on for another three. You know, keep signing on for more movies because he's such a talent. You don't want to lose him. I could see him maybe doing a smaller movie and maybe that being an indie movie and go around to the festivals and stuff like that. But I could see it still ending up on Netflix eventually. So
Yeah. So Deborah's quote was interesting. Let me bring that up here on screen.
I have it here too.
Yeah, can you go ahead and read that?
Yes, Deborah Snyder, Zack Snyder's wife and producing partner, says, for us, it was so important to find a partnership that was based on mutual respect. The creative process works best when everybody trusts each other and you can take chances and be creative. For us, we don't usually play it safe. The content we make is a little bit edgier, and I think it's important to have a good partnership and hear each other. And Netflix has given us a lot of freedom, but they've also embraced the idea of trying new things and not necessarily waiting for a success before moving ahead. She also had this to say: a consumer isn't going to be waiting 2 years for more, and that is exciting. I give them a lot of credit for developing that partnership and trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one you were talking about.
Yes.
There's also another one that's because Zach is really good at world building. We've done that with the comics for so long that to do something original is the ultimate challenge, and we're up for that.
Yeah. So that's very interesting to see. And, I just love this. And I'm very happy for Netflix and Zach. One good thing about Netflix is that it's available worldwide. And, so it's available to me as well, unlike some HBO Max or some other platforms. Netflix is available to me, and I can instantly watch anything that drops on it. So can most of the countries. So that's pretty amazing that the biggest streaming service right now and since the past decade or so uh, have signed on with Netflix with Zack Snyder. So that's amazing. And Rebel Moon will be a franchise that he has already planned a couple of movies or spin-offs, I think, maybe. That will also probably be, announced after the first movie comes out. Just like Army of the Dead 2 was also announced in this article. And they have said that with the first movie, they had 75 million views, I think, that was revealed. So that puts Army of the Dead on number one spot, and that also puts it on number 8 or 9 on an all-time Netflix viewing spot. So that's pretty big for a non CBM, non DC or Marvel movie, and an entirely original zombie movie, which kind of alienates a lot of the audience too. So that's pretty interesting that just based on Zack Snyder's name and his hype around Justice League this year, we got this much. So it just shows that this was a pretty
Yeah,
good deal overall, and everyone was happy and trusting of each other, which makes for the best environment for movies, right?
yeah. I think Army as well. You attach Zack Snyder. You also have Dave Batista, who was a worldwide wrestling star for years. You know, people who used to watch him. Oh, movie with Dave Batista. Oh, just click it. You watch it because like his streaming movies have been really popular. Like Army of the Dead, top 10 on Netflix. The Spy movie he did for Amazon, that was a huge hit for Amazon as well. And I think they're trying to do a sequel for that. So like Dave Batista, his streaming movies have done really well. Of course, his box office ones with Guardians of the Galaxy, but and then you have Garrett Dillahunt from Fear the Walking Dead. You have a lot of the Walking Dead fan base watch the zombie movie because they love zombies, obviously. So yeah, I think the film did pretty
Hmm.
well, and there's a spin-off coming later this year, and Harry the Dead too.
Yeah. And I'm excited for the prequel as well, the spin off movie that Matthias is directing. And Zach showed two new posters. And tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, there's going to be a Comic
Yeah,
Con and there's going to be a Army of Thieves panel with Zack Snyder, Deborah Snyder, I don't know if Shay Haddon is there, but Matthias will be there as well. So they have a panel tomorrow at Comic Con, and I'm definitely excited to see that. They might have a release date there, or they might show a first look clip, or a trailer, or a teaser, or something. Because we had four first look pictures released a few days ago, that we have on the channel as well. You can go check it out. I think it looked pretty finished. So they might already have a trailer or a teaser ready to show.
yeah, and if they do show something worthwhile, I might jump on tomorrow for a stream or just a quick video to talk about it because I think we could get a trailer, and I'm kind of annoyed because you know Comic Con's on this weekend, and Walking Dead today was Walking Dead Day, and KC decides to have the stream on when the Walking Dead panels are on. So I'm missing the Walking Dead trailer right now. I can see it's on my timeline, but I can't watch it, and I'm pretty disappointed about that right now. And yeah,
Well, we have
everyone's raving
we
about
have to talk with our Real Talk family here first. That comes first, Mar. You should know that.
it. Yeah, I like zombies.
You like zombies over humans?
Yeah,
Hard
oh,
choice.
just yeah, it is hard.
What?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
Yeah. Oh,
Thomas
speaking
Wayne,
of
Thomas
that,
Wayne.
let's get back to that in a bit. But yeah, Naveen says, "What's your most anticipated Zack Snyder film? Rebel Moon, Horse Latitudes, or Army of the Dead 2?" For me, I am intrigued about Army of the Dead 2. But before that, I want to watch Lost Vegas more because of the origins of the zombie aliens and all that stuff is in that. So I'm more excited for that than Army of the Dead 2. But for me, I would say it's actually amongst that. I would say it's Rebel Moon for sure because that's my dream Zack Snyder project. It's sci-fi space, franchise, and it's directed by Zack Snyder. I could not ask more. That's just my dream Zack Snyder project.
I would go with Rebel Moon as well because I think he'll make a Star Wars movie on steroids that he wants to make.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Army of the Dead, I'm looking forward to the sequel. But if you just said that was the only movie that's coming from this world, then I'd be okay with it because there's so much mystery with it. The ending is an ending where you could continue the story, or you could just say that's the end. I don't know what happened next. So I'm okay with Army of the Dead not getting a sequel. I like to pick one and watch Rebel Moon.
Yeah, me too. Not to say that I'm not interested in Army of the Dead. I'm very interested in that. We talked a bunch of theories, and a lot of them came true, and we are definitely excited for that. But as soon as Rebel Moon was announced, that was just like something clicked in my head because I always wanted a Zack Snyder sci-fi space story, and finally I'm getting that. So I'm very excited for that. But a lot of people after this news came out have been disappointed kind of about the Snyderverse not happening. And again, some of them then said that, oh, it's just on hold for like 2 years, and after that it can happen. Um, firstly, firstly, I would say that I was always saying that, it's not gonna happen for a while, for at least 5 years. And Maher, you said it could also be 7 years, realistically speaking, even without this deal, because he had a lot of movies already planned and in production and stuff like that. So that aside, another reason was Warner Brothers executives don't want to work with Zack again. That's just a fact. You cannot change someone's mind. Just look, someone in Warner Brothers decided to give up money, to give up making money just to distance themselves from Zack Snyder and not making Justice League 2, 3, whatever. So they're not just gonna change their mind and now greenlight Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 1 year later or 6 months later. That's not how it works, right? So I was very firm in my thought that it was not going to happen unless they are gone. That's the only way I see it happening. By happening, I mean the conversation even just happening. I think they just moved on from that after March. They are not gonna go back to Zack Snyder or his universe or any of his spin-off movies, whatever he was planning. Um, so to me, that was obvious, and him doing other projects and him moving on to Army of the Dead, Rebel Moon, whatever stuff he was talking about, him not giving a definitive answer for Justice League 2 and all that stuff. It was obvious to me that he was not gonna, they were not gonna work together. Like, the same execs that were toxic to Zack Snyder are still there. It's not gonna be a what do you call it, rainbows and butterflies situation when he just goes back and they can work together. It's not going to happen, right? As long as they're there, it's not going to happen. So for me, it was always going to be 5 years later. Now this announcement came out, people just got disappointed. Maybe they were holding hope for something to happen, but it didn't happen. But now they're saying, oh, it's just for 2 years and then it will happen. No, he has three movies in production that he has to get to first before even talking about another project. And Justice League 2 is a big project, which he cannot do in just 6 months or just 1 year, So he has to complete the three movies first, and that will take at least 2 to 3 years. And then if Warner Brothers management changes, that's a lot of ifs, by the way. If the Warner Brothers management changed after the merger, and they are finally talking to each other, they are good with each other, whatever the situation is 3 years from now. After that, if they discuss Justice League 2, then we have to talk about the actors. And Henry Cavill is getting like 25, 30 movies, greenlit every single month. And who knows what if the actors will be available at that time. So based on all that, I give it at least 5 to 7 years to even just the conversation to start happening. And that's also based on a lot of ifs. And I would say that if you wanna see, I don't even like to use the term fight for Snyderverse because this is not a fight anymore. It's not something that's already made and you just have to release it. This is something very, very much like a new movie to be made, right? You cannot fight for a new movie to be made in any other scenario. So it's the same with this. I don't think you can. Yes, you can keep the conversation alive. You can keep the hype around that alive, and stuff like that. But I don't think you can actually make that much of an impact on the decision making of the executives. So for me, it was always obvious, and a lot of people brought this up and they were sad about it. So I don't know what to say, man. it's it's a sad situation for a lot of people, I know, but to me it was obvious. So you know, I don't know. What do you think of all this, and what did you think before this happened? What do you think now?
I always thought that we would get some sort of expansion of the Snyderverse if it was a Joe Manganiello Deathstroke series, or let's just say, for example, a Jared Leto show or movie or something like that. I thought we would get some sort of expansion if Zack was involved as a director or not. I still think that can happen, and I still think it will happen at some stage. But of course, he's tied up with Netflix, and he's happy at Netflix. And when the crew of Toxic Suits change at Warner Brothers, I think Zack Snyder will be open to having discussions with them. And then hopefully the new guys that come in can see the fan base that he has, the success at Netflix, the hype that Zack Snyder's Justice League brought, and think maybe we should talk about doing JL2 with this guy. Now, at the moment, the studio heads, if they had to pick between doing Wonder Woman 3 or Justice League 2, they would pick Wonder Woman 3. If they had to pick between Aquaman 3 or Justice League 2, they would pick Aquaman 2 because those are guaranteed money in a way for them, and they were received well critically and stuff like that. You know, that's what they want. They want to please
Sorry
everybody.
to
So
interrupt
that's what they would
again, but
rather do.
on your point on that, there's also one more thing that, if Zach was going back to WB to make Justice League 2, is that he will need creative freedom completely. And Warner Brothers is not going to give that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. If the suits change, if a
Yeah.
new crew comes in and they're open to talking to Zach, and Zach won't go back unless he gets creative freedom, he's going to say, "You want me to leave Netflix? This is how they run operations. You're going to have to give me the same leeway," and that's what's going to happen. Now, I could see in 5 to 7 years then the possibility arising again, because the Rebel Moon has come out, Army of the Dead 2 has come out, a few other movies as well, and maybe Warner Brothers want to talk with him. So I just think it all depends. But I think if he keeps putting out hit after hit on Netflix, they might open conversations again. And Justice League 2 could be a very different film because who's to say Ben Affleck will be 7 years older, 8 years older, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill. The story might have to change. It might not be as big as it could have been in terms of getting all these actors back. I'm sure with stunt doubles and stuff, maybe you can make it work. But if Flash is successful, there'll obviously be a sequel. There'll be a third movie. Those actors are going to be tied up, so it's going to be very difficult. I think maybe after those movies, those arcs have been completed, then left to be where next for these characters. Well, let's do Justice League 2. So I think at some stage it will happen, but not for the next few years. And I'm okay with that because we've got Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I love those movies. And now we have these original ideas from Zack on Netflix, and I can enjoy the other DCU movies and Marvel movies in the meantime. I'm a patient man, and I wait 3 years for the Snyder Cut. I can wait another 3 or 4 for talks to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to go back there if they're going to be the toxic dickheads that they are, and they have been, and they wouldn't do it again. And they even did it this time with the additional photography.
Even
They
for
even did
the
the same thing,
Snyder
the
Cut, they
marketing.
wanted
They
Snyder to
screwed them
not
over.
do Snyder way.
They screwed them over. So yeah, so I don't see the need for it, and I don't think they're going to release the air cut anytime soon either because of it's tied to that. Are they going to put out a Suicide Squad cut when these Suicide Squad's coming out? I don't think so. I really don't. I think Discovery, new executives, clean house, then we can maybe show Discovery what we want. But it's going to be a long time for people to campaign. Can people campaign for 3 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But how much more campaign needs to be done? The movie stands on its own, and the movie talks for itself. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's number 2 in the UK. It was a big hit. Movie talks for itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if so many campaigns will change their mind or show them. They have the numbers for the Snyder Cut. Did well, so that's what they can gauge their expectancy on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that we don't need more campaigns for this. I don't think that the fans asking for stuff is going to change anything, because they know that there's demand. They know Zack Snyder is winning. He showed with the movie, everyone liked it. Rotten Tomatoes, it was 70% around that with critics and 95% with the audience. He finally gave Warner Brothers what they've always wanted from him, and they know that Zach can be successful in his movies, and he's a very hot director right now in Hollywood. They know all that. You don't have to prove that to them. They know the numbers. They know everything. They still don't want to work with Zack Snyder. That's just something that you cannot change, no matter how many campaigns you do. So, like you said, when Discovery takes over, maybe the management will change, and then we can say that, oh, look, we need this, and there's a lot of audience for this. Then they can probably check into that, and obviously see that the results are there. They have the data, they can see everything, and then it could be possible. But for now, I would say with the current management, they know the numbers, they have the data. You don't have to keep saying that, oh, look, we did 1 million tweets, we did this much, we did that much. It's not going to happen with that, because this time it's not about um, how much demand is there or how much hype is there. It's not about that. It's personally, they just don't want to work with Zack Snyder. So you can't change someone's mind when things got so heated and toxic that he doesn't even want to return if they are still there. So there's that. And I also think that you shouldn't just forget that it's going to ever happen and give up. I do think that at some point in our lives, it still may happen. A lot of movies get sequels like 15, 20 years later. I'm not saying that's how much it will take, but I'm just saying that the excitement and hype never dies. It's always going to be there. So you just have to be patient and wait for it.
Look, we got a Blade Runner sequel. We got a sequel to The Shining. We got a sequel. Indiana Jones 5 is filming. Never say never with any of these projects. So,
Yeah.
even movies that came out and did so poor at the box office, they got sequels of it 20 years later, 15 years later, but because there was an audience there first, like over time, or I think it will happen at some point. No point being negative about it, but yeah, I think some expansion of this world will exist, and we'll be there for public to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joss L. Edis brings up a great point. Personally, I think after Discovery's merger, they'll continue the Snyderverse with James Wan and Ben Affleck directing, and Zack Snyder producing. That's another discussion that a lot of people are starting to have right now. That if they want to do that and they don't want Zack Snyder, maybe they can hire a different director and a screenwriter who can actually take the story from Zack and write the script in a way that pleases Warner Brothers and everybody and is the best for the project, whatever. And would you be up for that? Because that's another way it could happen, either 5 to 7 years from now, or if you want it, in 2 years or 3 years, whatever, you'll have to hire someone else to do it. So Zach could be producing. They could be using his story. He could give all the plot points and directions and stuff to the director, and the director will go with his crew and make the movie. That's another option. So maybe that's one way to do it. And the original Star Wars trilogy was done by different directors. The sequel trilogy is done by different directors. Star Trek is done by different directors. A lot of franchises start somewhere, they go into somewhere, and it happens all the time. So it's not a new concept. So if they still want to bring James Wan in, I think that would be a pretty good thing. If they want to bring in Ben Affleck to direct, that's, I think, the best possible thing, because he's the person who sees eye to eye with Zach the most. And then having Jared Leto there, Deathstroke, all that stuff would be pretty amazing if actually Ben Affleck came back to direct it. That's one way of making it happen. So would you be down for such a concept of bringing other filmmakers and having Zach on as a creative input, just for as a producer. Would you be down for that?
Yeah, of course. No, it's get to see the continuation of these characters and these stories in any form. I'll take it. I really will. If he's a producer and a hands-on producer, do it. People were saying David Ayer. I wouldn't choose David
Yeah,
Ayer, to be honest.
not for Justice League.
Um,
I don't think so.
I, I no, I love David Ayer. I think he's great with assembled cast. But I'd give him something different. I think maybe even I think he'd do pretty well for Justice League Dark. You know, that kind of crew. It would suit him a lot more, maybe. But yeah, James Wan or Ben Affleck, or I don't know, like who else would you get? But any of those would be fantastic. If Zach can't do it, if Zach is not the first choice,
Yeah,
then yeah, James Wan. James Wan is fantastic. So
yeah,
yeah, let's hope. As long as it happens, I don't mind who does it.
yeah.
As long as it's done in the vision, the world that he
Yeah,
wants.
me too. I was before I was also this like no, Zack Snyder has to make it. I was that guy, but now I'm more open to it because I just want the story to be the same, because it's still Zack's story, right? So I just want a story to be same, and if the movies are made in a similar style to the Snyderverse, I would really appreciate that. But Naveen also says that Discovery should let Zack Snyder finish Justice League 2 and 3 as one big series, just one big series. So yeah, that's also another possibility. Zack Snyder, just like Raised by Wolves, Ridley Scott was attached as a producer, but he wasn't the showrunner and he wasn't hands on in every single scene. But it still feels like it's kind of Ridley Scott, style. So Zach could hire someone like that, and they could be the showrunner. They could make the series. Zach could be a producer. Same thing, the story could be taken from Zach, and they could just honor Zach's story by consulting him. That would be the best scenario, I think, because a series will likely turn more profit for HBO Max. We've always been saying that series would be more profitable for HBO Max and much more in their favor as well, because they are so shy about general audience, box office, and all that stuff. So keeping it on HBO Max would actually benefit them as well. So it's a good deal, I think. And if that's a possibility, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, I agree. It would be awesome anyway, as long as he's involved in some